Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Talking Cryptocurrency podcast. I'm your host, Jason Rigden. On this episode of the show, we are talking to Ameen Soleimani of Spankchain. They're building a cryptocurrency-powered adult entertainment ecosystem built on the Ethereum network. We all know that the adult entertainment industry has historically led technological innovation from VHS to the internet and now cryptocurrency. Spankchain could revolutionize this billion-dollar industry. Hello, if you like this episode and you want to hear more like it, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll get every single episode. The Talking Cryptocurrency podcast is available on all podcast clients. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. And if podcasts aren't your thing, I publish video versions of these interviews on YouTube and DTube, so you can subscribe there too. All the links to all that stuff is going to be in the show notes. So please, if you want to hear more of this show, subscribe. Hello, on this episode, I'm here with Ameen Soleimani, CEO and co-founder of Spankchain. How are you today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
So could you tell me a little bit about the problem you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so the problem Spankchain is trying to solve is about providing the adult industry performers and businesses with a way of securely storing their funds and transacting without having their funds at risk of seizure or censorship by the legacy financial institutions.
Okay, and that happens pretty commonly, right? Where performers will just have their bank accounts closed or frozen?
Yeah, it happens. So I think in 2014, JP Morgan shut down the bank accounts of a bunch of adult performers and their families without explanation or warning. PayPal shuts down their accounts all the time. And Visa and MasterCard refuse to process their transactions. Stuff like that. It's pretty commonplace.
Yeah, this is happening here in America. It's not like it's...
Yeah, it's just the persecuted legal part of business.
And so how are you solving this problem?
Well, we are solving it by trying to accelerate the migration to using cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies in the industry. So if you hold your money on a public blockchain like Ethereum or Bitcoin, then your funds are much less at risk of being seized and your transactions can no longer be censored. And so for us, we are building the tools and platform in order to help adult industry performers and businesses conduct their economic activity using these public blockchains.
And does this also protect the clients, the people that are paying?
Yeah, well, it's separate from your sort of credit card-based identity. So it won't show up on your bills. It has additional privacy. You can more easily switch between personas if you want, stuff like that.
And are you going to be interacting or integrating with other adult entertainment sites, or will you be running your own?
Our goal is to provide a platform and infrastructure. And so we are building our own applications as a showcase. So we have currently in beta at beta.spankchain.com a live cam site where you can see performers stream in real time, and you can get your Spank card, which is our representation of an Ethereum payment channel, and tip instantly in real time without paying gas costs, the Ethereum transaction fee, except for opening the channel or getting the card, loading up the card, so to speak, in the first case, and then when you want to settle at the end. And our plan is to bring this technology, this payment system, to the greater adult entertainment industry.
And one thing that I was seeing when I was reading some of your other material was about these predatory fees that some of the other sites are charging performers.
Yeah, so currently cam sites charge something like 50%, and about 10 or 15% of that can be explained by the payment processors. So the payment processors, they charge pretty high fees for adults specifically. It prices out a lot of independent operations too, because on the low end they charge something like $1,000 per month as like just a one-time fee.
Okay, so this could allow performers to actually be operating totally independently.
Yeah, our goal is to reduce the cost enough to make it really easy for performers to stand up their own sites. and monetize those directly.
And how has it been pitching to these performers? Are they accepting of the new technology, or are they a little bit hesitant?
Well, we're promising the moon, but we are still building the spaceship. So we, all we really have to show at the moment is the campsite. We stood up a sort of, easy decentralized application called CryptoTitties, which is sort of a leaderboard for ranked pictures of tits that you can tip directly, and it's ranked by the number of tips that have been received, or by the amount has been tipped. So performers have been pretty accepting of the technology, that somewhat hesitant because it's a new thing, but they are fairly motivated to figure it out because they, it's their livelihoods that depend on this. It's different than, for example, just some average person, your grandma. A lot of times people say, well, cryptocurrencies, my grandma's never going to use this. And it's like, well, probably not, or she might be the last one, or she'll only do it once, the money in her bank account is worthless. But for performers, they have a huge incentive to get ahead of the curve, because then not only do they get to participate in the rise of cryptocurrencies, but they also get to feel, for them, it's just like a real use case where they just want to be able to have money that isn't in danger of being, attacked by corrupt government officials and stuff like that.
So what have been some of the challenges of developing this product?
A lot of it's education. So, some of it's technical. There's basically two rate limiting factors for our growth. And the one is how fast we can build the technology. And the second part is how fast we can explain to everybody what's going on. So on the technology side, there's just a lot of challenges to deal with. A lot of the stuff that we're building has never been built before. We have the only working micropayment channel hubs on Ethereum today. For even in the simplest possible case of unidirectional Ether payments, and we're working on getting non-custodial payment hubs that have token support, and we should have that in the coming month or two. And that itself is hard, just because there's a lot of code, there's a lot of edge cases, and it's all super high stakes, because if you do something wrong, then you lose everybody's money, either in the smart contract case or just in your normal, firewall security sense. And then on the adoption side, it's a little tricky because we're playing we're sort of at the whim of the market, in the sense that in a bear market, people are less likely to spend their crypto, and so we can go around and explain to people how great this is. But if users aren't coming in and tipping and getting people excited, then it's going to be a lot harder for us to grow quickly.
Yeah, while researching you, I was very surprised about how highly technical you folks are. I'm used to a lot of ICOs where sometimes it feels like they might not actually understand the full concept, but watching your videos, you guys are super technical.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah, you take it very seriously, and you're doing some really innovative things on the technical side too.
Thanks. Yeah, we've got a lot that we're building. The campsite is sort of this one part of our offering. The next things that are going to be coming up are the clip site, which is, buy access to clips, but it all integrate through the Spankcard payment channel wallet and use our payment channel hub. And then we plan on exposing the SDK so that any developer who wants to spin up a site can plug into our payment channel hub and use it and build their site around that. And then as we go on, we plan on exposing SDKs for our other services, like the video player, a website builder, UI, affiliate network, stuff like that, so that people can integrate these. We sort of start with this process of dog fooding, where we build something into our own sites and then extend it as a showcase, or then extend it after the showcase has been done to show the SDKs to the world, to share that. And then from there, we want to move towards decentralization, where we can really offer these services in a decentralized way. So decentralized peer-to-peer video streaming, using many hubs instead of just necessarily ours, but routing through them, stuff like that. And then the next big thing we've got coming up is the Spank Bank. So we have our own stable coin called Booty, and you stake your Spank in the Spank Bank to mint Booty. And Booty is good for $1 worth of our services, so it's a low volatility fee credit backed by our services. And so if you're a performer and we're charging you 0.5% on a campsite, or I'm sorry, 5% on the campsite, then you could get tipped in Booty or stake your Spank and then cover all of your fees. And if you are, for example, third-party adult website that's just using our payment processor and you're paying us something like 0.5% as well, then you too could pretty quickly stake Spank and mint Booty and then use that to cover your fees as well. And if the network grows, then great, you get to participate in the increased utility of the network.
Interesting. And so have the performers been, do you have like a queue of performers waiting to get in, or is it kind of available for anybody that wants to join in, can join in right now?
Yeah, so we had a closed beta and then we moved to an open beta. And so the closed beta, we had a queuing system. In the open beta, you can basically stream at any time. During the closed beta, we were, subsidizing the performers who were showing up. During the open beta, we stopped. We saw, sort of as expected, the performers were coming a little less frequently because we weren't paying them as much, and with the bear market, people are sort of less willing to spend their crypto on fun things. And then now we are starting to ramp up on featuring shows again and starting to see people get more excited about coming to the site.
Do you think that's going to be a problem for cryptocurrencies going forward, that with these currencies that we think are kind of deflationary, that people will be afraid to spend them?
Well, potentially. There's this weird there's this weird dynamic at play with cryptocurrencies that are trying to actually be currencies, which is that the more stable they are, the better they are at functioning as a medium of exchange. But the more that people start to use them as a medium of exchange, then the higher the speculative value. And so the more people will buy them to speculate on them being really good mediums of exchange, which will drive the price further up and then make them more volatile, which makes them worse medium of exchanges. And so you sort of have this spiral. I think that I think it's possible. I think in our case, in the short term at least, we solve this problem by having our own stablecoin that we can use as a medium of exchange to allow people to buy into it, hold it. The thing with the campsite now is it's all Ether based. So when you buy in, you see a certain amount of fin, and you can tip using your fin, which is 1/1000th of an Ether. It's finny, but then people aren't used to doing the sort of mental math to understand how much that is, right? And it fluctuates. Whereas like if you're on, I don't know, Chatterbait or MyFreeCams and you have tokens, like the value of those tokens don't fluctuate. They might be abstract, it might be 10 cents per token, or so you have 10 tokens or something, and then you're tipping those, sort of like Chuck E. Cheese tokens. But your Chuck E. Cheese tokens, the value doesn't fluctuate. So I think it's going to be really helpful and important to provide this stablecoin to the market, because then other adult sites who recognize this problem might want to partake as well. And given that we've designed the system so that they can participate in the issuance, I think they'll find it really attractive. We've gotten some early, I can't make any announcements here, but we've got some early interest from the other like crypto adult projects that want to potentially join forces and use this.
And have there been any particular challenges as far as regulation goes?
So as far as regulation goes, we are in the middle of a sort of conservative push to clamp down on sex work in general. we are also in a highly uncertain regulatory environment for cryptocurrency. It's unclear, if tokens are securities, are utilities, are governed by the IRS, the SEC, FinCEN, who's in charge. There's a lot of uncertainty there. On that side, I think we have a pretty we're doing the best we can to be compliant, so to say. And on the adult side, there's two bills signed into laws: SESTA, which is Stop Enabling Sex Trafficking Act, and FOSTA, which is the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act. And basically, those clamp down on they eliminate a specific. I think it was HR 130 or something like that. The point being that before this bill's passed into law, internet platforms like Twitter, Reddit, 4chan, etc., they weren't necessarily held accountable for the user-generated content on them. Whereas after this law is passed, then Reddit and other sites can be held accountable for the user-generated content and have to impose their own sort of censorship. And so you see, Backpage get shut down, Reddit shut down a bunch of its subreddits, Craigslist shuts down its whole personal section. On that front, I think it's actually going to be fine because the enforcement is mostly around solicitation of sex work in general, which is not something that our platform is concerned with at the moment. And so, and even if it was, then I think we would have the best tools to be able to self-police and remain compliant.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Yeah. The regulation on both sides are shifting and wild, and they just don't make any sense. So what are your plans for the future?
I gave you our sort of short-term roadmap. In the future, I think that we're going to want to start experimenting, besides the sort of general get adoption, get users for our consumer products, building, relationships in the adult industry for our, business to business side. We want to start playing around with money as a primitive, in the sense that, like, never before in human history have you been able to program with money, like where money is baked into your programming language, and you can be like, move money as like a piece of code. It's always like, set somebody's balance and something else, but it's always backed by some regulation and some country. Whereas in this case, we can build entirely sort of self-regulating systems. For example, on the topic of remaining compliant in the wake of FOSTA and SESTA, self-policing users to make sure that there isn't solicitation going on. And as a bonus, to provide additional moderation. So here's one of the things we were thinking about. It's like, most of the time when you register for a site, you basically, you can get in for free, and then you can chat once you've made an account. So the cost of you making an account is very low. And if you're chatting with somebody, basically all they can do is block you or mute you. And then what you'd have to do is, you go make another account. And we've seen that this doesn't exactly work. There's a bunch of Twitter scam giveaway bots and stuff like that. And this is the type of problem that could be solved relatively easily with economic incentives, because you just force all the users to get like a chat license. And so you can only chat if you have a chat license, and it costs $10 to get a chat license, and we'll have one in Booty. So, you put 10 Booty down, and then you get a chat license. And then what happens is, like, then you make it so that your chat license can only be revoked by a vote of the Spank stakers. And so now, and then what happens is you give somebody who challenges you, they say, they basically go to everybody who is staking Spank, and they propose to challenge your chat license, and they match your deposit. So they put down $10 of their own, and then they say, here's this guy's chat history. They're a douchebag. They're breaking the rules. They're soliciting prostitution. Like, let's get them out of here. And then the Spank holders would vote and say, yes, this makes sense. And the challenger would receive most of the loser, or if the chat license holder was in fact, being a undesired, engaging in an undesirable activity, then they would have their license revoked, and the challenger would receive some part of the deposit, and the voters would receive the rest. And so you can build these systems where you have decentralized crowdsourced moderation that scale up much farther and address the problem in a much cleaner, more elegant way. Because now, for any rational troll, you're going to say, oh, do I really want to spend $10 every time just to get my troll on? And the answer is probably no.
Oh, that's really interesting. I know hearing performers talk, that's one of their biggest complaints when they have to interact with fans. Oftentimes it gets very toxic very quick, and it can also scare away your other fans too.
Yeah, exactly. We've had 4chan come through and or people who seem like 4chan come through and raid our cam shows from time to time, and we've got to be pretty quick on the block trigger finger to keep them out.
Well, I think we've got a pretty good overview of your project. Was there anything that I should have asked that maybe I missed?
I think you got it all. Pretty excited about it. Have a really great team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great project. I really encourage people. I'm going to have all the links in the show notes. It's a great project, and we all know how the technology works. It seems like it starts in this industry with videotapes and the internet, and just kind of explodes. And I see cryptocurrency being kind of the same thing. This could be the real everyday use.
That's what we think, and that's what we're building towards.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jason, for having me.
Thanks, Ameen, for coming on the show. Spankchain is a very interesting project. It has so much potential to help adult entertainers operate with more freedom and efficiency. Human sexuality is a fundamental human right and is under attack all the time. I'm so happy to see projects like Spankchain fighting back with technology. If you want to learn more about Spankchain, the links are all in the show notes. You've been listening to the Talking Cryptocurrency podcast. My name is Jason Rigden, and I've been your host. Thanks for listening to the show. If you liked it, would you please consider giving us a rating or review on iTunes? I look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day.